a game that was, Saints. I've just chucked the link in the chat for anybody that wants to jump in. We'll just have a bit of a discussion for about an hour. Go over the win, the win we've been desperately after for weeks now, just so long. I quickly want to start on some stats before we jump into saying hello to other people. Obviously, Dan Butler, first game back in a while, kicked his 4, pretty close to man on match. Kilda was looking like it could have been him early. He started the game on absolute fire, nearly kicked the sealer in the last, but Higo got another. Look, there was so many players that I thought played well today. There was a couple, I think, that maybe kind of didn't live up to what you'd want from them. But when so many play well, you can carry 2 or 3. First match for Jack Carroll. Unfortunate to see how he came on with Filippo's injury. Hopefully that's just a minor injury. We don't really know anything yet, but we will. If anything pops up, we will let you know. Let's kind of get ready. I'm just going to pull up the stats before I get anybody in. It looks like we've got Heath McDonald here. So give me a second, Heath, and we'll get this ready. All right, we got player stats. We got the rest of it up. All right, perfect. Heath, mate, are you ready to go? Awesome. I'll chuck you on now. Heath, how you doing today, mate? How was it?
It was very good watching stream, and it was also good watching it on the TV, and just good to get on the winners list.
Mate, could not agree more. I've been sitting there, not trying to get on anybody's back, but there's been a few players today that played, pretty well, that have been on people's target lists. I think Marcus Windhager has had a few questions raised of him. Bradley Hill might have had a couple of issues kicking today, but majority of these efforts were really good. Across the board, it was a good effort. As Chris mentions here, Wilkie and Hammer down back look very solid. What did you think, mate? Was there anybody that stood out to you particularly?
Can I say Dan Butler?
Yeah, he looks good, mate. I was questioning his inclusion. I'll be honest. I didn't think he had the best results in the VFL, but sometimes you don't keep players that are AFL quality at VFL. You just get them into the lineup, and I think we saw that today. I also really liked the efforts of Zach Jones and Hunter Clark, both with 20 disposals. Hunter got his 1-goal-1 as well. Both of them looking solid. Hunter laid a couple of tackles that just blew me away. I didn't think he had it in his bag. He looked thick. I don't know if I've ever said that about Hunter Clark, but he demolished some people today, and I'm so proud. I'm very pleased with his efforts. What else, mate? What else stood out to you? Because I could go on forever.
I thought I thought Windy and Wilkie's tag team of Pickett was really good, shutting him down.
Yeah, that was there was a few moments where we just I'm really looking forward to kind of actually going through this one. I've had a few weeks now where it's not been a video I want to review. But this one, I think I'll actually sit down and watch it again instead of maybe just going through highlights, going through the stats specifically, looking at a few turnovers and whatnot. So it will actually be a fun result. Hunter's hip and shoulder in the third. That was the big one. There was also Owens taking Bowie. I think it was might have been somebody else. Might have been like Chandler or something. But yeah, like there was just so many moments where we were hard at it. It felt like everybody had a bit of stocker in them today. Another one that we might have coming back in the return after our bye week. Oh, mate,
yeah,
feels good. Feels good.
And
I don't know what to say. Hey, like it's just such a good result.
Oh, yeah, finally beating Melbourne. They've got us the past few times, so it's good to give one back to them.
That they have. I think this was, from memory, the third highest score from the defensive half we've had in 5 years. Now, I don't know if any of you guys remember Ratton's time, but I think that was what we were known as. We were known as the rebounding Saints. We'd get out the back. That was Butler's best year, 2001, right? So if we had the third best rebounding efforts today, I think we are on the right path. Whether that comes out every week or not, debatable. But we're such a young side compared to that 2001 side. I really do think that the future could be bright. We just need to keep plugging away, and we saw those efforts today. I also love Toby Travaglia's efforts. He didn't do the best by foot, was turning it over a bit in the first half, but was less so in the second. Got a goal as well. I could pretty much talk about any player. I really do think Isaac Kilda, just let him play where he wants to play. He looked good down back. He looked good for moments up forward. I've liked him at moments in the ruck as well. I think that leap that he has there is just something that none of our other ruckmen have. And yeah, mate, I could go on about every player. I think there's an element of dread that I had coming into this match, but they shut that down. Coming in, what did you think the score was going to be?
I honestly thought Melbourne were going to beat us, if I was completely honest. The way we were going, I would have said Melbourne would have easily beaten us 75-40. The way we've been playing. Just the way
I completely agree.
Not deal with this. I'm like, no, we're better than that. And lucky I was proven wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. Because I remember thinking coming into this match, a good case scenario for us would be pushing them, whether that's really low scoring affair where, both of us are struggling to get to 60, or whether that was, a shootout. I wasn't sure, but I thought we couldn't win either. I didn't see it. But that was based on, the last month's efforts. And today was just a different effort. Couldn't be prouder of the boys. There's Rowan Marshall as well that I want to touch on quickly. Roma was one I thought was just out of form last week. He looked not the man we've become accustomed to. And today he kept going fairly quiet for the majority of the match. And quickly see if I can get onto hit outs to advantage, that sort of stuff. But what did you think of Roma's efforts, mate?
Yeah, I thought he competed really well. Obviously, he was up against Max Gawn, and we know Max is a fantastic player in his own right. But Rowe just did what he needed to do and nullified Gawn to the best of his ability. I don't know how much Marshall was around the ground, but I reckon he was pretty solid.
Yeah, so he only got the 16 disposals. Where I really liked his efforts was he basically matched Gawn at pretty much all the contests, but he also kind of equaled the win rate as well. So I'll quickly show people that, and we might we've got another person waiting, so we'll kind of get your last thoughts a bit after that, Heath. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to share that screen. Yep. So we got Mitch winning the most to advantage, which is very surprising. It's only 1 of 3 though, so it's not much. But then we've got hit outs to advantage, 30 hit outs, 7 to advantage from Gawn, 22 and 5 from Marshall. Now, again, would love to see that be a higher number, but when it's very close to Gawn's efforts, I'm not too worried. Hit rate, win rate in general, yeah, Gawn kind of got the better of Marshall by a bit, but not enough for it to mean much when you look at, say, team clearances, which if we come to here, we ended up losing but we won the centre clearances, which is one we haven't done for a very, very long time. So Heath, I guess I want to get on to the next person here. What's your kind of major thoughts on this match?
I thought that Jack Carroll looked good on his debut. I liked how we every time Melbourne came back, we just slowed the play down and looked for the better option. And I also liked that Ross Lyon didn't make a smart-ass comment during the pre-game this time. That was good.
Yeah, fair. I mean, look, I am a fan of Rossi and his comments, I'll be honest. Yeah, so let's agree to disagree on that regard, but everything else I agree with you. It was great to see some of our efforts, and really can't speak highly enough. Thank you for coming on, Heath. I'm going to get the next one on, and I'll see you probably in another 2 weeks, something like that. We'll do this all again, and hopefully with another win.
Go Saints.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one. And we've got Nick sitting here as well. Are you ready to go, Nick? I think we've got Nick ready to go. Give me a thumbs up if you're good to go, brother. All right, easy. Let's get you on stage. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very, very good. I've been going on about how much I've enjoyed this match, but what were your thoughts?
It's a nice change from the last couple of weeks for sure. Obviously, there's a pattern that's been developing when we're not in form that has changed today. That we're not bombing it in and just hoping, and we're taking the game on, which I really enjoyed today. So that was like one of the reasons why we definitely won this afternoon rather.
Couldn't agree more. I'll see actually if we've got some of the advanced stats available yet, but I don't.
I love how you go into the stats, Woody, because I love like the in-game stats. We took 140 marks the whole game, and we're ahead in the round.
Yeah, it's honestly one of our better results in that regard. I'm going to see if I can get this to work. I'll just double check what we've got. All right, cool. Yeah, we've got a little bit of the advanced stats, so I'll chuck them on screen. So let's go through them very quickly. So we've got some base level player ratings, that sort of stuff. As you mentioned, if we go down to team stats here, it's a bit of a scroll down. We've got 140 marks to 100.
Yeah.
That's crazy levels.
Like we lead the round. Like I think Collingwood took 137 when they beat Brisbane on Thursday, I think it was.
Bang on. And that comes down to a lot of like the general possession, which is on the other screen. I'll quickly touch on that. We won
the comparison, like free Gold Coast and Fremantle, they took 110 between them. Like
yeah.
The fact we outscored them by 30 was amazing.
And that's where, as a general, we've won. I'm on the wrong. How did I get to gold? Oh, that's the last week's. All right. Yeah, so we won the overall possession 45 to 39. That last quarter, we had 53% of it. Just good control. And same with uncontested possessions. We were like 80 odd up on them, 70, 80 on them.
That's it. I think we were 50. Yeah, we had a lot of control, and I think inside 50, I think we were like 55% as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think double check while I'm here. Yeah, bang on 55 exactly. And we had Melbourne going at 47.4. I mean, overall, those are sort of crazy numbers. Things I love to see as well. Ground ball gets, we killed them. Post clearance contested possessions, we're normally around the mark there, so that's good to see. Ground ball gets again, post clearance, we killed them.
We even got them on disposal efficiency too.
We did too. We got them pretty well on meters gained. It's interesting. They had more of their scores from forward half than we did. In fact, we can now check.
And they got us 57 to 40 and inside 50, but they kicked at 25%.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you look at some of these numbers, they actually did pretty well. D 50 to forward 50, they were moving at almost a third of them were actually working. And the general scoring chains weren't bad. They didn't actually get many chains off by the looks of things, which is
no, they didn't.
It's essentially that first possession that we showed a second ago, where we got it there. We got it more, but when they did get it, they clearly didn't really get it to a second and then third often, which is what we want to see. If we look at our turnovers, I mentioned it earlier, that's our third best result in 5 years.
That's insane.
Great work. And it's something we've seen a little bit from our opponents on us. So it's good to see that that's kind of one of the major reasons we got this done. If we look at stoppage, we didn't win that, but we were competitive there. Kick-in results, we did actually go end to end a few times. We
did. And it was so nice to see that transition be carried out effectively.
Bang on. Look at this, scoring origin, 67 points from the defensive half. Only 2 goals from the forward half. That's a fair cry difference from what we were doing earlier in the year when we were winning. We had a lot more of our score origin coming from the forward half. I thought that was just kind of the way that that Ross maybe wanted to move in terms of team direction. A lot of frontal pressure, that sort of thing. But it's good to see that even if we are putting reasonable frontal pressure on, we had a fair few more tackles in the front half, particularly in the first half of the match. While it might not always be resulting in a score, it's meaning when it does get out the back, we're ready to take it back on again. So these turnovers from the defensive half, which clearly were just working today, and D half to forward 50, about a third of our chains were working. D half to score, just under 22%.
Yep.
It's good to see. I mean, it is
absolutely. Yep.
It's
Couldn't agree more.
Dying for goal assists as well. We were just look at that. 12-4 is great. It shows like the team,
that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Look, to be fair to them, if we look at expected score, probably should have been a closer match. And they did miss a lot of their shots, but
And look, I said if they kicked 21-7, they would have won by 6 goals. But of course, if they kicked a goal, the game would have definitely changed or been different. But it's just a round of applause to our defenders for coming in clutch. Like you had Wilkie with 15 marks, 100% game on time on game, time on ground. Pardon me.
I want to double check it, but I think that might be Wilkie's most disposals. It is.
You think it's a game high 31?
It's not only game high; it is his career high. So if we go to his career performance, 31 kicks, 22 against Melbourne. Didn't quite match his tackles, but intercept marks, it's the best for the year. General points from the fantasy regard, one of his best, pretty close to his best on results. Wow. I just had an inkling that it was like 1 or 2 above his highest. I think it's only 1, but crazy match from Wilkie. Man, I could really go on about everybody. You don't often see.
Well, why don't you?
Well, in some regards, we'll keep some of it for the review. But I mean, it's good to you don't see this often. You don't see Petrarca, Gawn, May.
Those are low numbers for them, I think, in that regard.
Very low. Yeah. And you see a little bump from a lot of our guys. Ryan Burns is probably getting that extra 4 or 5 than he normally would there. Hunter Clark's maybe 1 or 2. Same with Zach Jones. Steely's probably about where he's been all year. Sinclair similar.
He'll have such a better game. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on. He was who I was going to go on. What did you think he did better this week?
I think it's hard to say because look, we're very critical of him. I think, because he does make a few mistakes, but he does take the game on. Like he makes certain decisions that we obviously don't like, but I like that he still takes the game on. He had 13 marks as well, and he kicked a goal too, which I thought was really good.
He was. I appreciate. One of our best, in my opinion. Like he if he didn't have maybe 2 turnovers that were a little
Yeah, 2
bit
turnovers, definitely.
obvious. I think he had a few more than that. Like if I double check it, I think he ended up with 4 or 5. But like at the end of the day, it was 2 that were kind of like, oh, Brad, you kind of can't do those ones.
Yeah.
But the rest of his game, perfect. And the other turnovers are ones we don't notice much because, as you said, he's attacking. He's trying to make that outlet play happen. And this side, this match, I saw him out on the fat a lot, which I liked. He wasn't that overlap player. He was ready to be the outlet on the far side. And it seemed to work. That little bit of extra time, maybe it's all he needs, right? So if we can get him a bit further out in space, that could be all we require. I also wanted to talk about Marcus Windhager. Now,
absolutely.
Quite get his best result ever, just falling short of North there.
But 28 is pretty up there, isn't it?
Hang on, it's his best fantasy results ever. He's just below the mark for clearances. Actually, he ended up with 6 as well today. Or I'll double check that. But I mean, it's his best match for the year by far. We've been kind of crying out. At least I've been wondering, and I know a few others have said similar, that, you know, what is Windy going to be? Is he able to kind of get the clearances? Is he going to be that player? Because if not, like, where would we put him next? And I think if he keeps doing these performances, we don't have to worry about that. He shuts up all those critics. So loved his performance.
Yeah, no, like it was a whole team performance, not just singling out, you know, Wilkie and Windhager and, you know, even Hill, but you know, at 8 marks as well, and, you know, 4 tackles. You know, there's definitely a defensive presence for sure, but also it's nice. Like we had Butler coming back in form with 4 goals, which is obviously the main talking point, and Keeler having 3 goals, 1. Like we had 7 goals just from Butler and Keeler alone, which makes me think, you know, we don't have to rely on Sharman and Owens and Higgins and even King when he comes back. So it gives us that separate avenues of goal.
Exactly right. And I think one of the big questions that we're going to face at some point as Saints fans, right, is if we are getting Keeler, if not Keeler, if we are getting TDK, we've been shown something from Keeler, right? Now we've still got Taru to come in. Now he's played as a forward this week. He might end up as a backman longer term. He might end up as a forward. We're not sure. But we've got King to come back round 18. They're suggesting now. We've got a few things to kind of figure out, and then there's the Rowan Marshall question of while Marshall did really well, don't get me wrong, and I'm not advocating to move him on or anything of that regard, but I do wonder where we fit all these players next year. If Marshall is going to spend a lot of time forward, out removes a role for Keeler, so he might have to develop more as a back. Then we're also going to want to have Toru come in. So it becomes a bit of a question of, all right, we've got a lot of tools that we're developing and have, you know, a lot of scope for not only good games now, but improvement in the future. So for me, it becomes a bit of a question of how do we fit them? It's
definitely very hard. And I think, I don't know, I think Jake mentioned this was the year of exploration, I think, at the start of the year. So I think, look, we're only 5 and 7 at the moment, and the rest of the year is probably the time to figure that out, where the particular players and all our new recruits fit into the side. And I think, you know, if we don't make finals, which it's highly unlikely, but it's hard to predict what will happen in a game of footy. But I think, you know, with our new debutants and figuring out whether they're going to fit into the side, I think, you know, let's put the pressure aside to figure out where we're going to sit and then figure out like the priorities as far as that's concerned.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, as a basic look through of kind of who we might be, you know, not only now but end of the year, we're hoping that Philippou it had a minor injury and can kind of come back well. I think we've seen a little bit of something from Owens in the guts that I think a few of us have cried out for a while. So I wouldn't want to put the brakes on those sort of experiments either. There's a few things to kind of figure out. We've got Garcia, who played a really good match in the twos, who has had good matches in the seniors in a more in a bigger role, but also hasn't quite gotten it done in some matches as well. So there's a lot to learn out of this second half of the year, particularly if we are going to get some of the names that have been thrown up, Bergman, Alir, one or two others that may or may not eventuate. But it is a big question at this stage of development, because I think a lot of them are quite young. I think there is an element of the baton's going to be handed over fairly soon from the senior players to the younger brigade. And I think we're going to probably walk into next year expecting the younger guys to kind of be in charge in a lot of regards. Of course, we'll have Wilkie, we'll have Steele, we'll have a lot of these guys. I mean, hopefully we keep him, but look, end of the day, if he does decide to move on, it would in turn get us a big return. So hopefully, based on recent history, we can use that well, if it were to happen. But I mean, all accounts as well, some people are saying Naz has potentially liked what we've done for the majority of the year and wants to stay, but others, don't. So we don't know yet. That's a big question. But mate, I think we're at the stage of, is Toby Travalia going to be starting 22? Like, the rest of the year is going to be to figure that out. Is Max Hall going to be able to hold his spot over the likes of, say, Collard, who wants a gig, Garcia, who's trying to make sure he can have good efforts forward while he's not in the guts. So it's who's going to hold these spots over the rest of this year and maybe make something of their own into next. I think we've seen one already. I think Caminiti has all but locked down a fullback role.
Absolutely.
And,
couldn't agree more.
I think we're just kind of debating at this point, do we need a third tall alongside Wilkie and Caminiti? Some matches we might, some matches we might not. So Keeler, I don't mind if he's a swing player for now. I just want him on the field. And I think it is hard to always fit these players. So, even if I really want him to develop a little bit more as a ruck, because I love his leap. I just don't think he's got the tank. And I don't think he's quite got the muscle yet. So, this next, 3 months or so, two and a bit,
roughly, 10 weeks or whatever, 11 weeks or whatever.
Be an interesting one.
Yeah, it will definitely be. And obviously with these new players, will definitely be a good scout how they definitely fit into the side. And obviously a lot of these players have only got a couple of games on them and they're still trying to fit in with the side. Obviously we've got, Schoenmaker in the twos as well. Playing some great matches. And you mentioned Hasty as well, Taru as well. So it's just a matter of what sort of game they provide and the disposals they get and where they're best on ground. And hopefully there's some consistency there that'll be great for, putting them into the side, I suppose.
I agree, mate. Like that's kind of where we're at. It's like we've got a lot of excitement from these kids, right? Like and I think, last week we were all kind of looking for that excitement. So obviously we feel great right now, but there's a lot of potential and we get to see glimpses of it right now. Hopefully in another 3 months we're not just seeing glimpses. It's
No.
more than just these sort of 5 or so minute periods every kind of quarter, 2 quarters. But I think that 5 or so minutes that when we do turn it on, we look good. And
We do. It's attractive football to watch, Woody.
It is. And I think it's at that point, Nick, where if we can do that for half a match consistently, we're going to be in, fighting territory in most matches. So I think that's where I'd like to at least see us be around that mark for the rest of the year. If we can have those 5-10 minute bursts every, 2 quarters.
Every quarter.
I'd like to see it every quarter. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to say it's going to happen because I don't think it will. But it's one of those ones. If we can get closer to having sort of half a match of that style of football every match, where we're at least giving ourselves a fighting chance. Because of course we're going to have down moments. We've got a young side. We've gone over all the kids, and there's a lot of them, and they've got a lot of potential. But yeah, it's up and down for now. I think the end of this year we've got to maybe have a chat about some players. We've already had a little bit of a discussion, but I think now is not the time. Not while we're on such a high vibe. And
absolutely.
Yeah, potentially could do anything at this point. I'd love to see us go a 3 tall forward line. Maybe we can get Kilda, Max, and Marshall working in tandem down there.
Yeah, sure.
Who knows? It's the time to experiment. So, in that last few weeks, when Max comes back, right? I'm not expecting us to be in a really strong position to make finals. Maybe we can still do it, but at round 18, we've got 5 games left. I think those 5 games are pretty much the better 5 of, I think, 11 games that are left at this point for us. So at that point, I think this next sort of 6 weeks block is going to be pretty hard. If we can get away with 2 to 3 wins, I'll be at 3 wins, I'll be fairly happy. 2 wins, I'll take it. But it's this period's going to be hard, I think. And then it doesn't fill me with a ton of hope to actually get into the finals, make a really deep run. So when Max comes back, round 18, I think it'd be really good to see that sort of triple head beast that Adelaide's been doing. Give it a shot, run Max Heath as our full-time ruck for a game or 2. We've got Richmond in that period. We've got the Kangas. We've got a few sides that are hopefully towards the bottom of the Langer. And we've got Melbourne again, I believe. So might even be one of those periods where we just, if we're not feeling like we can really get it done, we've got a 4-week period to not tank, but, play a lot of kids, secure a better position, that sort of thing.
Be nice.
I think this might be one of the highs for the year. It's a little bit of a worry for me, but
and look, as you said, the next 6 weeks are definitely going to be the mark of where we sit. But I think, putting finals aside, because finals are not really a priority at this point, sadly. If I'm going to be honest, but you can live and dream. But definitely, the next 6 weeks will be to see how our rookies develop and the value they provide to the team. I think because we're sort of unknown, even with the draft deeds that we've been provided this year. It's
there's still a lot to be found. I think we'll also have the same sort of question brought up of the seniors as well. We're in the position now where we will be, as I said, passing the baton, so to speak, to a new sort of demographic. I mean, it's almost already happened, but I think next year it'll be very obvious that's kind of where we're at. Hopefully, most of them have developed, and whatnot, and we still see reasonable results. But I think, yeah, we'll see a bit of a question over, and as much as they both played very well today, if I was to single a couple of people out,
Right.
there's a group of three here that I think would have questions on them at the end of the year. I'll pull it up on stage so everybody can see it.
Yep.
There's a group of three: Zach Jones, Hunter Clark, Ryan Burns. All of them a bit more experienced. For one reason or another, they're maybe not first picked in the side every week, but they definitely have their own strengths, some weaknesses as well. But I think that's where, these sort of a little bit more experienced players are definitely going to be questioned at the end of the year. Likewise with our experienced players. I think, Steele, Sinclair, Hill, their roles will all be, at least, where will we be playing you longer term will be up for debate. Maybe even Wood as well. I think, we'll want to keep seeing good efforts on the wing because we've got a few players, Darcy Wilson, things like that, Liam Henry, that are kind of earmarked for that position longer term. So it's, I think back end of the year, we're going to have those sort of questions on players of, all right, well, where's your secondary position? How good are you at it? How long can we actually play you in your current position versus how long could we play you in your secondary positions? Those sort of things. So, I think it'll be questions at the end of the year, but I don't think they're necessarily bad questions. I think it's
more curious of anything else.
Yeah, it develops that level of next. It develops a bit more flaw to our overall build, right? So Jack Steele right now, he's probably one of our first, if not first, midfielder picked each week, right? So going forward, is that the case? Maybe not, but we will kind of need to think about Jack Steele at, say, 32 sort of thing. We'll still need a level of output from him, but it's probably not as much in the guts. So is that half forward? Is he the pinch hitter, tagger? Because we know he can get a lot of tackles when we ask him to, that sort of thing. So, I think these questions are going to start to happen later in the year, throughout next year as we really settle into the best side that we have, and the kids that are growing into those positions. So hopefully this is just the beginning for Marcus Windhag. I'd like to see his 5 clearances each week. Jeez.
2028 is insane. Like he had the first half especially, I think, well, just maybe the whole game was just tremendous.
Certainly. And I didn't realize Keziah Pickett managed to get 5 centre clearances for the D's, but I thought he blanketed him most of the day. 4 centre clearances yourself is an elite effort. Elite players generally are sitting at about the 3 to 3.5 centre clearances on average for the year. So if he can average north of 3 every time, awesome.
He's exceeding expectations.
Hang on. A couple of score involvements as well. That good shot into Mitchie, split Keziah on the run past, and got Mitchie lace out. There's just so many moments that this week. I think if you've seen the stuff we with SaintsTV, the Tuesdays, it's going to be hard to narrow down those kind of couple of clips that really exemplify what we did on the day, because I think there was so many great little moments
absolutely
that you could look at. It's
so much positive aggression and so much more fluidity from the back half to the forward half, and not so much. I don't think I saw that much bombing it into the 50 as I saw, when we lost all those other games. It just seemed isolated.
It looked good. I might even see if because certain stats are and aren't up. Okay, we do have.
Like Jake mentioned, Adelaide got 63% inside 50 last night against Sydney. I mean, they won by 90 points, but
Yeah,
I mean, we got
they were.
50 in close game. I mean, that's still pretty impressive.
They were honestly Adelaide's my tip for the flag. I've had
Yeah.
them since the start of the year,
Yep.
but not convinced. But I really like their forward line, and I genuinely think kicking goals is what wins you games, right? So
Yeah. Well, they've got
as much
Fogarty
as
in there and Tex and all that.
yeah, I mean when Tex is your, we might have to drop him to play better sort of situation. Like you're not doing too bad.
Yeah. No.
I think, quick look over sort of disposal efficiency. Very good. I want to point this out, actually. This is something that sometimes kicking efficiency, I'm just going to quickly put this out there. It's not exactly perfect. Disposal efficiency, likewise, but I'll explain that in a proper video that's coming out pretty soon. But we've had a few matches recently where players have, and a fair few of our team have been below the 50% kicking efficiency to target.
Okay.
Look, Higo, it's not great, but he's a forward. He's mostly going to be trying to shoot goals, so it's nothing in the world.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's the only one, like Mateus, all right, whatever. Whatever. He's the only one. If you go look back on other weeks, you'll be shocked at some of the names that you see there. And it's the only reason I haven't brought it up in videos is because I don't think kicking efficiency is a particularly perfect stats. That doesn't.
No. Especially when Higo's almost up at the Coleman standards anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But look, there's a lot to like about it as well. You just look at Kammer. He looked. He did a few random outside of the boot shots that. Look, if I was watching like a cousin of mine, I don't have kids, right? So if I was watching a cousin of mine, like playing local footy, he's maybe 16, that sort of thing, just running out of defense, doing a kick on the outside, trying to get an extra 25 meters, 30 meters, I'd yell at him. I'd tell him you're being an idiot. But Kammer hit it like 3 times perfectly. And I was like, all right. Like, I mean, if you can do it, do it. But like, most can't. So I would suggest most don't. No. And he did really well. He's Yeah.
I wish I had as much confidence as Jack Higgins kicking around the corner for most of his goals this year.
I think he prefers it.
That's
to
a
be
skill.
Honest.
Say again.
I think he prefers it. I don't think he doesn't love lining up for like straight set shot.
No.
So I think he prefers a little bit of the pressure on him in like, let's get this done. Let's get this going. Let's take the shot. I don't want to have 20,000 eyes on me for 20 seconds before I kick it. So, it's just him. I think Draper's similar these days. He just trusts his snap more, and
and probably Mackay to a lesser extent.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just a few players that prefer it. But I don't know, look, as long as you kick. There was that one shot that was really bad.
It went up in the air and went. But look, it was come by. Was it Butler? And he kicked his 4th or 3rd?
I think so. Yeah. I remember we were watching the replay, and Jake's like, he goes nearly there for the crumb, and I was like, watching it back, he might have been able to mark that if he really put the burners on. So. Look, we always have a few really funny moments in a game. It's just like, geez, what the heck just happened? Likewise with Jack Carroll, I remember just my heart dropped the second he just dropped the ball a meter out in front, and I was like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's almost like he planned it. It's almost like he just kind of half screwed up a bounce to himself, and then just there's just a few moments like that where it just worked today. It was one of those days where it just worked.
And it just didn't work for Melbourne as well.
No, it didn't. And look, that's just footy sometimes, unfortunately. Like that when you have
Yeah.
28
We get
shots to
25% and we kick at 67. That's just as Jake said. Bad kicking is bad footy at the end of the day.
bang on, and like they had enough opportunities to win the match.
They really did.
Like,
and they weren't like the breeze. Like after a certain amount of misses, you're going to notice a pattern where the breeze is going, unless it like changes the other way.
well, look, I think I did see one shot where we got to see it like basically go straight. We got to see straight behind the shot, and I remember seeing the ball kind of fly left, fly right, fly left, fly right. It just it couldn't quite. Most balls, they pick a direction, they start going that way. But I feel like the wind was a little bit circly on the right of screen.
Sure.
So I mean, there was a few moments where I was like, "Oh, we got away with that because the wind really helped us." But there was a few moments where they just really took a shocking shot.
Like we adapted really well. Like we kicked 6-2, 3-2, 2-2, and 3-1.
Yep.
And then they kicked 2-2, 4-7, 1-4, and 0-8. It just progressively got worse in the second half.
I mean, it's one of those ones like if they flipped that score, right? Like if they kicked it 11 goals, 1, we'd be all pulling our hair out. No, don't get us wrong. Like they well and truly could have, but it's one of those matches where they never quite looked on top.
No.
And when they had their chances, they didn't take them. When we had our chances, we did. And that's
a credit to our 55% scoring efficiency inside 50.
Bang on. They mention it here at the end of the match. Cal Wilkie career high.
90% efficiency is just Cal Wilkie levels.
It's wild. Also, Aiden Johnson want a little campaign from all the Saints that are, you, me, anybody watching. We're campaigning for 3 weeks. I heard them say 1 or 2 weeks on the broadcast. Hell no. He jumped into a hip and shoulder, cleaned up Naz 3 weeks. We're not talking like we've mentioned a few times now that it's the action that we have an issue with, right? Not the result.
The rule,
So the action was he left the ground, he hit Naz in the face. Naz had to go off for a concussion test. That's 3 weeks. If it's severe impact, he was doing a concussion test. That's severe impact. Doesn't need to concuss him to be severe. So that would be my argument. All of us, we need to say, hey, he left his feet. He jumped in the air, hip and shoulder in the face. That's 3 weeks. It's severe enough to take him off the ground. Take him out. That's 3 weeks. So,
absolutely. And it was just calm because he ended up missing 15 or 20 minutes later or something in front of goal.
Yeah, bang on. And I think look, would have been much more upset if that had been the other way. They had kicked straight, all that sort of jazz. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still would have thought we played reasonably well. There would have maybe been moments that I would have tuned into more had they, took their opportunities. But at the end of the day, I can't think of them now that it's over.
Look, I think there's a definite difference between how we played against Gold Coast and how we played against West Coast and how we played against the Giants, and contrast to this week. And look, Melbourne didn't play the best, but they definitely had their opportunities to take it, but they didn't take them. And we didn't. There was definitely a difference in how we played confidently, and we took the went down to the centre more. We took the game on, and and as you said, our transition game was really, really good today. Just looking at those stats, I mean, look, they had more inside 50s, but they scored 7 goals from 57 inside 50s, but they had 28 scoring opportunities, so they're converting at almost half. But so did we. We had 21 scoring opportunities from 40. So,
and what I find interesting is I felt like we were fairly effective, which is shown here inside 50. I felt like we didn't have tons of chains breakdown. Yeah, we could have maybe been a bit better, as I showed on this tab. Yeah, we could have maybe had a bit more chains. Maybe if we were sitting around that level, right? Man, we could have smashed them, like absolutely smashed them. Yeah. So I think we definitely were cautious in some regards, because we normally get an extra 20% on our inside 50s. But that cautiousness led to a 6% jump in efficiency inside 50, a 4% jump in overall in disposals. I mean, we got a win in the center clearances somehow, which I don't. I'm going to have to watch that stuff back, because I haven't seen us do that in a few. Well, I didn't expect us to beat, like, say, Petrarca and Clary. Right? No. So yeah, it's going to be a fun watch back, I reckon. And I think all Saints fans, watch this one back. We don't need to do the KO bite. We don't need to watch the best goals.
This is the KO bite, Woody.
Yeah, exactly. This is that sort of KO bite. We go over the stats. But yeah, man, like, just improvements across the board. Even like, we had more turnovers, but it's below our season average. Marks is just insane.
140. That was the one that really stood out to me. It was like, we're 40 ahead of Melbourne, and just looking at all the other games, like, so Collingwood had like 135, Fremantle had only like 57. It's just our defensive, and our awareness, I think. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, bang on. And again, it is that sort of movement idea. We've got sort of less turnovers here. Sorry, I was on this screen when I realized everybody else was looking at other things. But yeah, basically, like, it's control. And we mentioned that at the very start. It was time in front. Obviously, you showed biggest lead there. They got really early. They got a little lead on us. But it was control of the footy. And the fact that, they didn't get a ton more tackles and things like that, we essentially got out to the uncontested sort of possession movement. And as I said, Brad Hill out in the fat, a little bit more time with the ball in your hands. You get a little bit more time to decide what you want to do. You hopefully make the right decision more often than not, right? Exactly. So this is kind of that perfect match from us. We matched them in the clinch. We got it to the outside where we had a bit of space to find the next player, and we could have moved it more aggressively, sure. Like inside 50s, we went over a second ago, but I mean that sort of lack of aggression led to this sort of number and these sort of possession numbers, and it's a level of control and calmness and clarity that I don't think I've seen from St Kilda.
No. And I think that's what they're not sort of used to, given how our season's developed. And we're constantly under pressure from some of the, I suppose, better sides. Like, you had Brisbane and a couple of other teams that put us under pressure. So it's sort of nice when we've got a bit more of the ball and we can use our time effectively to cut it into the centre and take the game on a bit more.
Bang on. It'll be interesting to see some of the movement of our players. In case anybody doesn't know, I'll do it in the bucket tab just because. CBA DFS. So I'll quickly touch on our CBAs because I think they should be out now. Yep, share this tab. All right, cool. So we had Steele in the guts again, Rowan Marshall and Windhager as our main three. Then we had Boxall and Zach Jones as kind of the third majority of the time. A little bit from Carroll, a little bit from Mitchie, though that'll be split with Ruck as well. A tiny bit from Hunter and a tiny bit from Jack Sinclair. So I'm guessing one attendance each. But yeah, that's kind of interesting that we went back to kind of a dominant sort of Jack Steele. We did flirt with the idea of giving more time to Owens, Naz, Sinclair, Garcia. So look, I'm wondering if he had a little injury that we didn't really want to go into publicly.
No.
Because there was moments there where in throughout the season where it didn't look great. And even tonight he looked a little bit lethargic at moments.
Right.
But he definitely got the result tonight, right? Like we got the centre clearance wins. He didn't get a ton of centre clearances, but maybe he was nullifying another. Maybe he was doing a job on Petrarca because, I mean, Petrarca was getting off for a bit there, and then third quarter we shut him down. It's interesting. It'll be a good watch back. I think we should all, as Saints fans, watch this one back. All right. Geez, it's been nearly an hour. Holy heck.
Yeah, I'm not holding anybody back, am I? I'm not. Is there anyone waiting to chat to you?
Thankfully, look, if somebody wants to jump in, I'll quickly share the invite, but we will be wrapping it up pretty soon. So maybe if somebody wants to come in, talk about a specific moment that we've neglected or something like that, I'll open up the channel.
I don't want to hold anyone up.
Nick, you've been great, mate. I thought we had one person jump in as you jumped in at the very start, but went with you, and then they sent a message saying they were going to jump out. So,
okay.
But no, it's been lovely to chat with you, mate. And I'm going to start.
I love your weekly rendition. I tune into Jake every week and really enjoy his content as I do yours. And it's just nice. Like when I don't get a full wrap up of the game, that someone takes the time to deliver all that important information. So it's just nice to chat to a fellow Sainter.
Yeah, likewise, mate. And no, that's a lot of it's similar for me. I felt like when reaching out to Jake, particularly this year, we chatted a little bit last year, but he was in a bit of a change of things, wanted to get some new people in because a few others were leaving, doing their own stuff, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And I thought, geez, people really don't care about St Kilda enough. Like I feel like the mainstream media, they get their opportunity to talk shit and they do it. And then they're like, cool, we got our moment of getting St Kilda in. And it's like, hey, none of us want that. Like none of us want that St Kilda comment.
You wouldn't hear about it. No,
exactly. So I think, I think we need those moments of Saints fans just enjoying what we can, going over things in, maybe not a negative, like potting St Kilda light, but just saying, hey, we're fans, we've got expectations. Certain things are there, certain things aren't. So I think, being into numbers a fair bit, it gives me a reasonable launching point for that. But thank you very much for the kind words. Look, Nick, definitely pop your head back in, not this next week, but the week after. We'll be doing this all again. Thankfully,
I'm subscribed. I'd love to. I'd love to have another chat about anything Saints. I've been following the Saints since 2004, so it's been a wild ride. We were travelling up, a couple of our family members and I. We travelled up on Grand Final Day 2010. Of course, we all know how that went. And we just got into Melbourne just as the final quarter started, and we watched the final quarter as Goddard took that magnificent mark. So I've got a lot of fond memories, but obviously not a flag. But that will definitely come later, hopefully, in our lifetime.
That's it, mate. That's it. Yeah. I've got a lot of similar memories. I've been a Saints fan through and through since I was a very wee tyke. I've got it. Well, my dad's got a little tiny woolen jumper that's got a tiny scribble on it. Supposedly it's Plug a Locket. I reckon he just drew on it sometimes. I don't know. But I've been into them since I was born. Which has had its positives and negatives. Which I think most fans can relate with. Nick, I'll do the goodbyes. I don't think we've got anybody jumping in. So thank you very much for popping your head in tonight. And definitely
pleasure, Woody.
And we'll talk very soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, mate.
If I could leave on one line for our Saints season.
Yep.
Where there's a Wilkie, there's a way.
That's it, man. Silky Wilkie can get it done if anybody can.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. And I'll talk to you very soon, no doubt. No doubt, Nick.
right.
Cheers, brother. Talk soon. All right. Well, that's basically it, guys. I think we've got a sorry to fill up the feed, Chris. Don't be at all, mate. There's honestly, the camera is half in front of the feed, so sometimes I miss things initially, and then I see them a little bit later. So it's not you at all. But yeah, look, thank you again, guys, for popping your head in. We've been at it an hour now. I think if I were to keep talking, I'd probably just start going in circles, which I probably have at this point. Really good effort to wrap it up by the boys. Bring it again next week. Bring it again in 2 weeks. Let's see what we can do against some of the stronger sides we might face over this next month or so. And yeah, maybe we can surprise. I'm not expecting a big month of back-to-back wins nonstop, but yeah, I'd love to be proven wrong. So yeah, that's about it for today, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Keep an eye out on SaintsTV for Tuesday's release, and I will see you all on Tuesday and in 2 weeks. Cheers.